tell me, why did you want to be a part of the show and put your life on reality TV?
I feel like I have had a very, I would say peculiar, but interesting life experience. And for me, I didn't know anyone growing up that came from where I came from. I didn't even know I could have a job in fashion, that was even a thing. And my entire life growing up, like, I wanted, work in fashion or do this or that. But like I said, I didn't know it was a reality. And so when I told my family, from Texas and Louisiana, I want to go to New York, I want to go to my dream school, I want to go to Parsons, they were like, no, you can't go, it's too dangerous. So I had like worked for 3 years at going to community college in Dallas, Texas. And then I got a scholarship to my dream school in Paris, and I had never had a passport in my entire life. And I didn't return home for 2 years, and I just had this really crazy experience. And I really just wanted to give insight of what it's actually like, especially with, the very romanticized and glamorized, Emily in Paris. I love that the show, really takes on a super authentic, approach and like raw approach to what it's actually like. And also, as I was saying before, going back to the other point, is like, if I can just inspire, if it lands with like one little girl or a boy that's in, Texas or Louisiana, and, people are telling them that they can't make their dreams come true, or that they're too far fetched, then like, then it's all worth it to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you already segued into my next question, which was obviously when people heard about the show or watched the trailer, immediately the Emily in Paris comparisons came into people's minds. What do you think of that? And do you think it's accurate to say you guys are kind of like the real life Emily in Paris?
I think it's really hard not to make the comparison to the two, especially with how like famous, and how successful Emily in Paris was. But I do think that, our show gives such a more like raw and authentic perspective of what life is actually like there. So, I mean, I think there's definitely some similarities. And I think we see that, with part of my love life as well, with my neighbor and things like that. So there's definitely some synchronicities, but I think that our show, yeah, just gives a super, and especially with the documentary style that Bravo really has in our show as well, it shows such like a real life version.
So what is it about Paris that, you and your castmates like made you realize like this is the city that you belong in?
I mean, there's something like magical in the air. And when I say like magic in the air, it's like this place, I mean, for me personally, I can pretty much speak for myself. I think everyone finds something different in Paris. I think that's also really beautiful too, because we all come from such different walks of life, and we have such different professions and do different things and different goals and ambitions. So everyone finds something there for them. But when I speak for myself, like the fashion aspect of it, it's like where all the greats were. And there's something magical, like when you're just going to get a coffee, you're walking in the same literal footsteps, same sidewalk as like Yves Saint Laurent or Karl Lagerfeld or any of the other greats, and you never know what is going to come like out of the night. Like you never know who you're going to meet, or like what even the day is going to turn into either.
I mean, your fashion background is very impressive with going to, Parsons, and you work at, a fashion house. So what is your dream goal? Like, is it to be the next Yves Saint Laurent or Coco Chanel or?
I mean, I'm living my dream life. As a designer, I've always like, I love giving a part of myself into someone else's universe and learning about them and this whole true collaboration of design. I'm an artist first at heart. I've been painting since I was very young, and like, and then realizing that I could actually have a career in fashion, which is something that I just naturally loved growing up. So like, I'm doing my dream job, and, I'm just really excited to see, where the next steps take me.
What are some of the biggest differences between French life in Paris and life in America? Like just, the small little things like etiquette or the way you behave. Like what are some things people would be surprised if or culture shocked if they've never been to France?
Yes, I think the hardest thing, I mean, I come from Texas as well, right? So the culture shock for me was, far and wide and all in between. It was, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is the smiling, right? So like I come from where like if you make eye contact with someone, and as most of the US, it's very rude if you don't smile. Whereas like in Paris, you don't smile at strangers. If you smile at someone, you're inviting them over. It's like flirting. And it's such a different like And I remember like first moving there and my classmates, because I was only like one of 2 Americans in my entire graduating class. Everyone was from all different countries and continents. And like, it was really beautiful to get this like cultural exposure that I'd never had before. But they're like, oh, here she is smiling again. I'm like, hi guys. And they're like, why are you so happy? And I'm like, just like, it's a cultural thing. I think there's that, and also conveniency. Like, and you see that in episode 1 as well, with something that happens with Margot. But it's like, you want anything fixed in the US, it's like I need it yesterday, like come tomorrow, you're gonna get something fixed tomorrow. And in France, you might be a few weeks. And like also with stores closing, if you come into any French store 10 minutes before closing, they're like, we're closed. Whereas in the US, it's like, if you're the last customer, we're gonna stay open for you. So like little things like that, for sure.
So I loved the last scene in the premiere where you open up about, your sexual orientation. Were you nervous about that? And what do you think, why did you want to open up about that on the show?
It was really hard. It was, as I also come out about like, I'm divorced, and I was really shown my entire life, like just, from an upbringing that like, also because I'm divorced, like, shh, don't tell anyone, like that's embarrassing. And I think that all that happening in Paris made me develop a sense of like, just F it. This is my life, and this whole new chapter of my life, especially since the divorce, is about living my most authentic self. And I feel like I couldn't do that without just being open and honest. And it was extremely, extremely hard for me. And it even makes me like emotional, like thinking about like the responses that I got from my like expat family in Paris. And like, if it wasn't for, and I'm very thankful I got to film with one of my best friends, Margot, and she had known this about me for a while. And I don't think she even realized how big of a deal it was until she saw like me actually doing it to other, coming out to like to other people. And just, the support and the reaction that I got, it still brings like tears to my eyes. I wasn't used to that. I wasn't, or like even like expecting that. So, this, like I said, this whole new chapter is just about me living my most authentic self. I'm getting teary-eyed, see.
Sorry, one more question on it. What do you think your family will think when they watch the first episode and see that moment?
I can already, I think that's probably what was the hardest to deal with until the show was airing, right? Because I'm over here in my head of like, what are they going to think? What are they going to do? What are they going to say? And, I've got some amazing advice from some of my Bravo elders of like, you just have to just be you and do you. And I think that, and some of them still don't know, actually. And I think that the opinions that I can assume that they'll have, is probably none of my business.
What Bravo elders supported you?
It's so funny. So one of my largest support systems I've had since I was 17, and before she even did a Bravo show, is Carrie Brittingham from the Real Housewives of Dallas.
Oh, wow.
So she was one of my first, like, she became family to me, and I'm actually wearing one of her necklaces now. But I met her when I was 17. I was working 3 jobs. I was double majoring at community college, and she was like, Victoria, you're going to be a fashion designer. You're going to do good things. And I'm like, you think so? Like, I hope so. Like, like I'll do whatever it takes. Like, this is my dream. This is my goal. And then she got on that. And then she, obviously went on to Real Housewives of Dallas. And, so it's just kind of, it's been amazing to be able to pick up the phone and call her anytime I'm like having a panic attack of like, what if this comes out and what are they going to say? And she's like, Victoria, it's all good. You're fine. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine.
So how is it dating in Paris, and what is the latest on your relationship status? Are you single? Are you still dating?
Well, I think you're going to have to finish the show to see where the current relationship status is at. It's super exciting. But dating in Paris is, I would say it's easy, but I think a lot of people, it's not. It's really about how much you put yourself out there and how open you are to it and what situations you put yourself into. It's French women and women are just so, it's romantic. It's in a European mindset of like dating is just so open. It depends on what you want out of it.
Hey guys, we got a new show on the E! News YouTube channel all about celebrities and their cars. It's called Drive, and you can check out the first episode with NASCAR champion Joey Logano right here. And don't forget to come back every Monday for all new episodes.